Hey everyone, it's me, Sean Capri, and welcome to the most horsepowerful podcast on the internet. It's the Xbox Drive. I'm on a Skype call with my friend Ryan Turford. He's the man on the mongoose, and on our journey today, we finally got that Splinter Cell remaster so we can stop complaining about everything in video games, so jump on into the Xbox Drive. Boom! Nailed it!
Greater than X.
Hello, Sean Capri.
Ryan Turford, 5 times for that intro. I'm so sorry for the editing that you have to do. I'm excited. It's minus 30 outside. We've got a ton of snow. I'm staying home. I am inside. But how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, especially because I have, the weather's a little bit different here. It's plus 10 and raining. So
yeah.
It's totally different. It's only a 40-degree difference between the two of us, Sean. It's totally fine.
Gosh, it is terrible outside. It makes me, this is the time of year where when I go outside to like the mail, we've got our mailbox kind of around the corner, and I'm like, I'm sad for the animals. This time of the year, I'm like, I would die, man, if I had to stay outside for if I got stuck outside for an evening or a night. Like, man, I really become grateful for the roof over my head and our furnace, like the technology we have to stay alive. It's amazing. And then also the technology that brings you and I together. But I am home, Ryan. I'm in my basement, as people can see on youtube.com/YouMeCapri. And people might be wondering, like, what are you going to do about this? Like, you're not at a drive-thru. I'm thinking about perhaps like maybe just leaving you at a certain point, just like going to the mini fridge in the other room and just coming back and grabbing a drink or something. Or maybe I'll order some like skip the dishes or Uber Eats or whatever people call it across the pond and below the belt.
I mean, all those things actually exist in Canada, Sean, so you're not technically wrong.
Yeah, but did skip the dishes exist in the States is kind of what I'm saying. Like, do they know what I mean? Right. I think Uber Eats is probably a little bit more ubiquitous. It's kind of what I'm saying.
That's true.
Almost like ubiquitous software, Ryan Turford.
My God. Well, let's dive into the show. Let's clean the garage a little bit. So folks at home, if you want to support the show, there's a number of awesome ways to do that. Of course, like, subscribe, share, comment on the YouTube video, youtube.com/YouMeCapri. Also, subscribe on your podcast feed of choice, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And also, if you want to throw a little tip in the old tip jar, patreon.com/YouMeCapri is how you do that. Of course, get early access to the show as well as some exclusive content. And then other two things I want to talk about real quick. Number one, our Game of the Year show, the Yumi Capris, are happening. There will be live on the podcast feed on December 31st, and patrons will get it 3 days early on December 28th. Also, huge thank you to the 22 people who submitted their favorite games of 2021 to be part of the show. So I'm very excited for us to record that this evening, the night that we're actually recording this episode. And then other thing I wanted to highlight real quick, Sean, I don't know if you do this other Game of the Year show that's happening over on twitch.tv/EPN, but there's the Rocket and Ray Gun Awards are happening right now. And if you watch some of those award shows, you might see some familiar faces in there. So I was actually on the Rocket and Ray Gun Awards talking about Final Fantasy XIV. Our friend Court Lalonde and Matt from Assemble were on yesterday talking about some games. And then, Sean, you might be on there as well.
I might have been cut. I haven't been on so far, man. I'm like watching. I'm like, maybe mine's next.
They're saving you, Sean.
They haven't talked about, should I give it away? Like I talked about the game I played most this year, which they seem to cover kind of first in these things. My game of the year, which who knows if that's going to be the game of the year that I chat about tonight, Ryan. I am still like, I feel like what we talk about this evening as the Yumi Capris, like that's final. But man, I'm wavering, and we'll talk about this later. So I did Family Game. I don't think I even mentioned that. I did Family Game on top of those ones. Best Family Game of the Year, game I played most, and my game of the year. So look forward to that. And honestly, Ryan, and I know that you submitted stuff too, and like, being part of the Rocket and Ray Guns, especially if you're a Canadian and if you've watched Electric Playground, reviews on the run, anything that Victor Lucas has done over the years, like what a huge honor to be just part of it. The Rocket and Ray Guns are a big deal. I tweeted about it. I hinted that I was asked to be part of something legendary, and it's a moment that I really just kind of like take in. Because we never really take any of this stuff for granted. The fact that people listen, the fact that others and people we admire and honor and are inspired by have asked us to be part of their stuff is like, you're right there alongside a Jeff Kanata and the Kind of Funnies and Easy Allies of the world. And it's just, we're very lucky, man. We're very lucky to get to do what we do and that people are part of it with us along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Like for someone like me who, again, like you, just kind of grew up, watching the show
Big time.
and watching, Victor Lucas's reviews. Like I first got into the show during the original Xbox era, and that's where I was getting a lot of information about games I should be looking forward to, especially because I loved like Vic's approach to, like always pointing out the positives in even games that aren't really that great. So I always loved his approach to reviewing games. So getting to be a part of it as well, like was a true honor. And he was always like an inspiration for me to get into my chosen career in content creation in the field. Like he was one of the reasons I got inspired to become a video editor. So I was like very, very happy and proud to be part of that as well. And the fact that, again, to your point, Sean, I was actually like, Jeff Kanata actually went up right after me talking about his game. So like I was sandwiched between him and another viewer. So it was really cool to be part of that as well. So there you go. Huge thank you to Victor Lucas for being awesome. So
very cool.
Anyways, let's grab our 8 tracks, pop them in. It's time for the playlist. And we played some games this week, my friend. So what'd you play?
I'm in a mood, Ryan. I kind of just want to play games, turn my brain off a little bit. And I might have been nudged in a direction. I don't remember who said it. Like, hey, Sean, are you still playing Forza? And I'm like, yes, I am. Thank you very much. And I'm playing the crap out of that thing, man. I'm finally getting some of these boards that are really difficult to get. They're like sitting on a rooftop somewhere. You got to jump off of a hill somewhere or whatever you got to do. And I am. This is what I was alluding to earlier. Like I am rekindling my love as if it was at all gone with Forza Horizon 5 after my stint with Halo. And man, I was up far too late last night doing all of the things. And I love Forza. I don't know that I need to say too much more, but that's been like, honestly, the vast majority of my time over the last week has just been like back into Forza, even though I keep saying like, I got to do Riders, I got to do Guardians of the Galaxy and all these things. But Forza Horizon like has captured my heart, man. It's such a good game and deserves to be played. So that's kind of like the biggest part of my time. And then yesterday afternoon, for some stupid reason, I fired up NHL 22 and just screamed at the screen because I suck at this game so bad. I was playing online and I just don't understand what these guys are doing. And they're literally like toying with me as we're playing. One guy was like pulling his goalie, letting me catch up, and then he'd like put in 3 goals at will. So I didn't appreciate that. Whoever that player was, wherever you are, I ended up beating that player in overtime, but whatever, he was being a bit of a jerk.
That's a bit of a jerk move right there. Let me tell you what.
And you could tell he wasn't like playing, like he put his controller down for a little bit and just see if I could score. And of course I couldn't. So yeah, it was a bit of a degrading kind of moment for me, to be honest with you. But NHL, I will say, like it's such a good game. It looks so great. We've talked about it before, but I was just kind of playing some video games last night and the last couple of last week, really, Ryan.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, with Forza, I know I like every time I've signed on to Xbox this week, I'm like, oh, Sean's playing Forza.
I'm back at it.
It's like you're constantly signed into Forza, especially since we've played Halo and stuff like that. So for the most part, it's time to kind of settle in for the holidays and play some of the games that we were kind of missing throughout the years. So.
I wanted to avoid trying to finish another game in time for a thing. I think that's ultimately like what I was doing, because like they're all there, but I'm like, as soon as I start Guardians or Riders, like then it kind of has to be part of my consideration for Game of the Year, and it's just not going to be. Yeah. And I'm sure there's going to be questions later on, either today or during our chat, like, what have I missed? Some of my regrets that I didn't really get to, like those are there, and I'll get to them eventually, and I'll probably chat about them on the show either later this month or into next year. And that's just the way it is, man. I'm really quite happy with games that I played this year and the way that I approached gaming this year. It's like, it's a good time to reflect on that sort of thing. I think I did it differently, and I'm just happy with it, man. I don't want to beat myself up over stuff like that.
I mean, you beat so many games this year, Sean. Like
really
so many
did.
more than
so
many more than last year. So I think that's a market improvement that you
Thanks.
It's definitely helped. So
thanks, man. Yeah, it's been fun.
As for me, I played some stuff this week. So, of course, everyone knows Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker's here. I'm not going to talk about it here because I'm going to be talking about it with Matt on the PlayStation Drive tomorrow. But it's kind of been...
Speaking of PlayStation, Ryan, breaking news. I have pre-ordered a PS5.
My God, Sean, you're one of us now. You're officially one of us.
Enters in Sean Capri S5. I'm going to be busting on into the PlayStation Drive any moment now. Maybe. We'll see.
I'm expecting that at some point you're going to just break through the wall like The Undertaker was at one point, and just be like,
Kool-Aid man.
You're just going to sit down with a microphone. You're just going to have it with you and be like, all right, what are we talking about?
Yeah, man. I got a digital one. I want to say, because I want to say this publicly, I want to say the kudos as publicly as I was criticizing GameStop did not do me well over a couple weeks ago trying this trade-in thing. They called me personally and they fixed it. More above and beyond, I got to say. They were really, really awesome on the phone. So thank you to Val from GameStop. I really appreciate it. My PS5 will be in here soon enough. I got a digital one. I had to buy 2 controllers and the charging thing, but that's okay, Ryan. It's coming, and I'm joining you guys very, very soon. So watch out.
Dude, I'm so happy that you're on the trade now, that we can talk about all those games. But again,
Genshin, Final Fantasy 14, I'm coming for you, man.
Again, we're going to save that for the PlayStation Drive. So again, Final Fantasy 14 has kind of pulled me away from almost everything else, but the queue times have been really bad for that game. So I've needed stuff to play while waiting in the 5,000 to 7,000 player queues to get into Final Fantasy 14, which sometimes can take like 2 hours to log into the game. So obviously I had lots of time on my hands in queue. So I actually picked up Mass Effect again, in Mass Effect Legendary Edition. We talked about it on the RPG Cave last week, and I was like, hey, you know what? I'm in the mood to play some Mass Effect again. I wanted to do like a Paragon run because I haven't done like the Paragon run in Mass Effect 1 in forever. Wow. So it's like, I'll play as the Good Shepherd this time around, even though I still punch reporters in the face. But I've been, of course, really enjoying revisiting the Legendary Edition, and I suspect that soon I'm going to be taking a big break from Final Fantasy 14 because I have finished the campaign and I don't want to burn myself out on it. So I kind of just over the holidays, I'm probably going to be playing it less. So Mass Effect is definitely going to be the thing that I do want to do. Is I want to play through some of these games and just enjoy Commander Shepard's legacy, especially because I didn't when the Legendary Edition came out, I didn't finish 2 or 3. Like I didn't really play them. Like
Neither
I finished 1 and then stopped because other games came out. So now that other games aren't coming out until like the middle of January, I have lots of time to go through Mass Effect. So hopefully I'll finish them.
I've got like a 3-week window here. I'm sure I can cram in a couple extra games in here, no problem. A couple, RPGs, no big deal.
I mean, it's Mass Effect, Sean. I've played Mass Effect so many times that I can
I
can speed run it through like with my eyes closed at this point.
I saw you fire that up. I think it showed it on Discord, and I was so jealous, man. Mass Effect is so special. And our Game of the Year conversations are interesting because some of the best games I played this year were old games, remastered. Mass Effect 1 and Skyward Sword on Switch are 2 of my probably favorite times in playing video games this year. So, but it doesn't really qualify for like a Game of the Year kind of thing.
Not for us though. We left it open where any game that came out that we played this year is totally a fair game. So,
there you go.
So it can be. I'm sure we're going to actually be talking about Mass Effect Legendary Edition on our Game of the Year show probably. But then Sean, I don't know if you got a chance to check this out because this shadow dropped during the Game Awards, but The Matrix Awakens, Unreal Engine 5 demo. Playing this blew my mind.
Pretty crazy.
I couldn't believe it was a real thing that I was playing because there are some interactive elements with it. It's not just a tech demo that isn't playable in some way, but it essentially starts off with this car chase scene that feels ripped right out of the Matrix Reloaded, where like Neo and Trinity are basically driving away from some agents, and then you're playing as like just a generic character that they threw in there because they wanted to show what generic characters could look like against like, real life celebrities essentially that were in Unreal Engine 5, but then you're shooting cars and blowing them up with your pistol and then shooting down helicopters and stuff like that. But then after that, you can fully explore this like open world city that they basically built in Unreal Engine 5, and it looks incredible on Series
X.
Let me tell you what, it ran at a really nice frame rate. It's super gorgeous. It definitely shows the potential of what these systems can do. Like when we maybe leave like the current like the Xbox One generation behind, I think. So
we were Tony Baker and Marcus O'Neill were over watching the Game Awards with me, and so we were sort of like we had a couple screens going on. We had Bad Bit and Kyle Stevenson from the trophy room on one screen, and then the actual awards on the other. And at a certain point, we kind of like flipped one of them off to go download this thing so that it was ready. It had the countdown and everything. It was very well hyped up, and I'm of two minds of this, Ryan. I'm on one side, I'm like right with you, like super impressive. I can't believe that's the future of games, and it's basically here today. Can't wait for games to come out like that. But at the same time, even the way that the demo kind of like played out, it felt like an FMV kind of game to me.
Yeah.
And it actually thrust me back about 20 years in that way, where I was sitting at my computer playing Rebel Assault or whatever those games were on like the CD games and things like Wing Commander and stuff, where you had lifelike stuff or even like video footage of things that were triggered by certain things that you were doing within the game. So it wasn't as like it wasn't as fluid as a game that you'd expect to play, but still you got to see like the true potential here. And what an awesome franchise and IP to attach to this thing too, because I love The Matrix like beyond belief. And I'm speaking specifically about the first game, and I'm really hyped about this movie, and I thought it was just really, really well done. Nice pairing of something that we've seen before. Like we've got a reference in our mind of like what this world should actually look like. And even like the color scheme to it, like there's definitely a look to The Matrix, and it all just really hit, man. Very, very cool. But I pretty promptly deleted it afterwards. I'm like, okay, I've seen it. That's cool. I can't wait for, man, like this is what Gears 5 is going to be built in. Like it's insane.
Well, exactly. Or the Coalition's next game, because they actually have a game coming up before.
I'm sorry, I said Gears 5. The next Gears. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's also not going to be a Gears game as well. So
yeah. Or Fortnite. Fortnite is going to be built in this thing, man.
Yeah. So y'all at home, if you haven't downloaded this and at least tried it, you definitely should. Like watching it on YouTube does not do it justice. Like you got to see it in 4K on your TV because it looks incredible. But
Digital Foundry did a great sort of thing as well. And one of the first things I thought of when I saw the city was like, this reminds me of Watch Dogs. And then I go watch the Digital Foundry thing, and they compared it directly to Watch Dogs Legion. And Watch Dogs Legion is like no slouch, man. Like that game you fire up, it looks great. And then you put it like side by side with The Matrix, like good God, my eyes, like can't even handle Watch Dogs anymore compared to this. It's just mind boggling. Like that's what people want to see when they drop $500 on a new console or $400 US or whatever it is. Like they want to see a bump like that. And I think that this kind of represents that, dude. Yeah.
It feels like the very first thing that we've played on our consoles that like shows what these consoles can do.
It's another step up. Like I was thinking, I've heard people say that too. And I fired up Assassin's Creed for a quick moment too. And I was like, dude, that game looks great as well. Like those games really are a step above what we were playing on Xbox One. And so this seems like we're almost getting like two of those, which is amazing.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's slam the brakes on this conversation, Sean. It is time for some breaking news, and we got a lot to talk about this week. I didn't anticipate this much news going into the holiday season, Sean, but here we are. So let's get into it. So first up, the following games are coming to Game Pass today. So none of these are in the far-flung future. These are the day that you're hearing this on the 16th of December. All these games are going to be live for you to play, including Among Us, Ben 10 Power Trip, Broken Age,
awesome,
Firewatch,
awesome,
The Gunk,
awesome,
Lake, Mortal Kombat 11,
awesome,
Paw Patrol, Mighty Pups, Save Adventure Boy,
Ryan's Game of the Year,
Race with Ryan. That's
Ryan's Game of the Year.
Maybe actually Ryan's Game of the Year. Record of Lodoss War, Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth. I'll talk about that one in a second. And then Transformers Battlegrounds, which folks that don't remember, that's actually like a Transformers XCOM style game.
Oh, it's awesome.
So I've never played that one, but that one actually looked really interesting. So I'm excited to play that. But Record of Lodoss War, the reason I bring that one up, first of all, based off like an anime series from the 90s, which I can't believe is a game nowadays, but I actually played this on PC earlier this year. It's a Metroidvania game, and it's awesome. So I'm very excited that console players are finally going to have a chance to play this for the very first time, because I really enjoyed this game on PC a lot. So I'm actually excited for people to check this one out. And it's awesome that it's in Game Pass, so you don't even have to worry about buying it. So definitely download that one if you like Metroidvanias for sure. I highly recommend it. But the sad news, of course, as always, Sean, the following games are leaving Game Pass on December 31st.
Quitters.
And people are going to be real sad about this one. So Pro Evolution Soccer 2021.
That's okay.
The Last Acre, Yakuza 0, Yakuza Kiwami 1, and Yakuza Kiwami 2. So all those games are leaving. And I say people are going to be sad because lots of people on our Discord, Sean, I don't know if you knew this, are big Yakuza fans.
Yeah.
They played them because they came to Game Pass.
Yes.
We received actually, because we did our kind of favorite RPGs of the year on the RPG Cave for which is going to be this week's episode. And a lot of people wrote in and said that they jumped in the Yakuza series for the first time with these games on Game Pass. So it's actually going to be sad to kind of see them go. And I would imagine this kind of signals that the time is maybe up for the other Yakuza games too. So if you want to check them out, now's your time to play them because they're going to be gone forever. Or make sure to at least pick them up while they're still on sale.
Yeah.
But there you go. All in all, I think pretty good list anyways for the final Game Pass drop of the year. Anyways, lots of good games in that selection. So.
I'm already loaded up on games, man. The Gunk is like, I'm really excited about it. That's one thing that we've been kind of keeping our eye on for a while. But yeah, you're right. Totally. And like just the variety in those games, man. Like they're just all over the place. You got like a great, what do you call them? The walking simulator with Firewatch. Broken Age just it should be there. Like probably forever. I think that one probably will never leave. But I can't wait to hear your thoughts next week when we record. I want to hear your thoughts on Race with Ryan Turford.
Of course.
It's such an Xbox Drive game. Like that's the official game of the Xbox Drive.
So,
and it's racing. Like we're driving. It's the Xbox Drive. Anyways, I thought it was pretty good. Yeah.
All right. Next up, the 6-episode documentary Power On, the story of Xbox, is now out to watch on YouTube. So this actually debuted during FanFest, which actually happened, I think, over the weekend. But now it's just up on YouTube. So anyone can go check this out. So this is a 6-part documentary done by Microsoft, and it kind of goes through the entire history of Xbox from, the original design of the original Xbox all the way up to the Xbox Series era. So I haven't had a chance to check any of these out yet because, again, Final Fantasy 14 does that to you. But Sean, I don't think you've checked these out either, right?
Oh, Ryan, I'm so glad to surprise you on this one. Guess what goes perfectly with Forza Horizon 5 on one screen?
A documentary about Xbox?
A documentary on the second screen. That's right. That is the correct answer, Ryan. I watched all 6. I haven't binged something like this in a long, long time. I'm actually glad that it's in the news here because I should have put it in the what you play in kind of the playlist section. This is required watching, you guys. For everybody listening, you must watch all this. I also think looking at the view counts on YouTube, people can go to the Xbox YouTube channel to watch all 6 episodes. It queues it up for you really nicely. But I feel like people think that there's maybe only one episode because there's a couple 100,000 views on the first one and it drops off significantly on episode 2. Keep watching, you guys. It is so great. I will say that things get a little less behind the curtain as you get closer and closer to the present. So with the Seamus, Seamus Blackley stuff in the early days, it's like all the secrets are all out there, man. Everything they had to do to get this thing running, and the kernel of Windows that was promised to Bill Gates and what they ended up actually having in the Xbox is so interesting, at least to me. They tell this story so well. They have Jack Tretton from PlayStation weighing in on certain things and how the Wii prompted the Kinect in episode, I think 3 or 4. They dedicated a whole episode to the Red Ring of Death. It is so good. I wish there was one of these for Nintendo. I wish there was one for PlayStation as well. I am in love with this, man. I want to show it to my parents and go look how legitimate this industry is, this entertainment sector is. It's so good. The Halo 3 launch is in there. It is, man, I can't hype this up enough. People need to watch this.
I definitely need to make time to watch this, Sean.
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah, because I saw it come up and I was like, this is really cool. But this will be something that waits until Final Fantasy 14 is finished. So now that that's kind of behind me, I'm ready to check this one out as well because I've been excited to check this one out for a while because I love learning about video game history as well. And you're right, it's harder to kind of get the secrets out there with stuff like Xbox One that's still in development and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that'll come in time. I would imagine they'll revisit this idea, 10 or 20 years down the road.
I hope so. Yeah, I want to hear more about Xbox One X. They kind of glance over that, but there's 2 real tragedies in this storyline. There's the Red Ring of Death, which everybody knows, but they hung on the Don Matrick stuff quite a lot. I was really surprised by that, and I was happy to see that. And I think it humanizes all of it. I think that might be one of the benefits that comes out of them being open and vulnerable like this. Is when you go online and you start bitching and complaining in the forums and everything, it's there's real people who made choices, and they had reasons to do that. And I like that they opened up what they saw in the 360 and the Kinect and what they were seeing with the Wii and why they went the way they did with the Xbox One. It doesn't mean that it was a good decision, but it makes it more relatable and understandable. And I'm really amazed with how open they were. And the fact that they got all these people to sit in front of the camera and tell their story. Like
Even Don Matrick apparently
he's
came
right
back,
there, man. Looking right in the camera. So I feel like they had to like track him down, like out of a log cabin in Ontario or something. I don't know where he was hiding, but he's out there, man. He didn't have to do it. So kudos to Don Matrick for that, because he easily could have just like went away with his money and, you know, faded off into the background. But he's out there for everybody to see, for everybody to comment on. And so, yeah, kudos to him, because that was not a good time, I don't think, for anybody related to Xbox.
Yeah, for sure. That was those are what we refer to as
dark
the dark
days.
times, Sean. The
definitely.
Wii U era of Xbox.
Yikes.
But anyways, next up, the Game Awards happen. Surprise. They happened last week. So the next kind of 4 stories all kind of come from the Game Awards. So Cuphead, the delicious last course, finally has a release date after being announced like 3 years ago. It will launch on Xbox One on June 30th. This is the expansion for Cuphead that brings a new island and a new character and a whole bunch of other stuff. I really like the trailer for this, Sean, because they did kind of this like the figures from like something like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer or Frosty the Snowman, but with Cuphead, and it looked really cool. So
yeah,
I
was
was really
great.
impressed by this. So either way, June 30th, I can't wait to check this one out. Next up, Tunic finally has a release date as well after being announced like forever ago. It will launch on Xbox One on March 16th. Go ahead.
This was in the pre-show. Just before it started, or was it the very first thing that they announced?
It was the very first thing they showed during the pre-show.
That's so good. Yeah. Oh, first of the pre-show. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But still, this was an awesome announcement. I know people are really looking forward to Tunic, even though I wasn't super into the demo for it. I'm glad people are excited for it, so it'll be here soon. Next up, Alan Wake 2 was officially announced. It'll be coming sometime in 2023 as a survival horror game. So they're shifting the direction of Alan Wake, so it's not going to be like the standard action shooter that the first one was. It's going to be more of a survival horror game similar to something like Silent Hill or something like that. We don't really know too much about it beyond that. Just 2023 Xbox Series X and S exclusive. It won't be on, Xbox One or anything like that. But either way, this got me excited too, because like as much as I didn't really love Alan Wake, I loved kind of the story and the setting of Alan Wake, but I just didn't really love the gameplay of Alan Wake. So with them going in the survival horror direction, I'm like much more excited about this one than the last one.
I'm with you, man. And it's funny, like it just seems like that's a really hard decision, I think, for them to make, to not just go like the same as the last one and bigger action, or like they really, I think that was a brave and courageous decision for Remedy to make this a survival horror and kind of get into what's happening with Resident Evil and stuff, man. This is an underserved genre, I think, and it's perfect. Like I'm exactly the same as you. I'm not as nearly as hyped about, I wasn't hyped about Alan Wake 2 or the prospect of it. And then they said this is the type of game it is. I'm like, oh, okay, this seems much more fitting. Alan Wake came out at a time when like everything needed to be an action game, and we have a lot more genres now. We have a lot more exploration of games and categories and stuff now. So that's super exciting to see. And Remedy is letting their freak flag fly, man. They're really crushing it right now.
Yeah, and I'm just glad that they're actually able to get this game made, because they pitched this game like 10 years ago, and they haven't been able to get it made at all. So I'm very excited to see what comes out of it. Yeah. Next up, speaking of Remedy, Crossfire X, the game that we keep forgetting is coming out, officially has a launch date. So it'll launch on Xbox Series X, S, and Xbox One on February 10th. So the multiplayer is going to be free to play, but you will have to buy the single player campaign separately, but it's being done by Remedy. So I'm excited to see how this one turns out as well. And then the last announcement that we have to at least talk about, Sean, even though I can already see that it's staying on your face already, Sonic Frontiers, a new open world Sonic game, was announced for fall 2022, and I am very excited about this one. The trailer looks great. Yes, we haven't really seen how the game, plays as far as the combat and stuff or the traversal is concerned, but I love the concept of an open world Sonic game. I think that this is probably the best direction that the Sonic team could go with this. Yes, it's still the team that made Sonic Forces, so I'm bracing for the fact that this game might not be good, but I love where they're going with this idea, and I hope it's awesome. So.
Look, man, I've said 2D Sonic is no good. 3D Sonic has my attention. Like the Sonic Colors was a good time this summer, so I don't have nearly as much disdain on my face as you might think.
Okay. I mean, I just know you generally don't really like Sonic, so I just had to say that. So this brings us to a question we got on YouTube from Eric Cave, who asks the question, is it just me or have the Video Game Awards show become more about world premieres and trailers than the awards? What awards and nominations surprised you, and what games do you feel like got snubbed? I wish Psychonauts 2 would have won something. So, of course, this is our quick chance to talk about the Video Game Awards as a whole. We're not going to obviously dive deep into this, but Sean, what do you think about Eric's question?
I think Eric's got a point. I reached out to our good friend Mr. Badbit about halfway through listening to his show of the Trophy Room, and they're doing a recap. Like they did a legitimate recap of the whole thing, and they focused first on the announcements, and I messaged them. I'm like, hey, you guys often talk about like why doesn't the Game Awards actually celebrate the awards? Like, why aren't you talking about the awards? And then half an hour into their show, they actually talked about the awards, and here I am on my own show not talking about who won and who lost or anything. So I think Eric's got a point, and I think that we as podcasters and content creators really need to think about this. And I'm saying this like me to you, Ryan. Like maybe this is something that we need to practice a little bit better about. We just did all the announcements. We kind of like gave the reason why Jeff Keighley makes the show that he makes. Like we didn't talk about the awards. They're not even on the show notes at all. And so maybe that's something that we need to look at, and collectively as a community, we should look at as well. And I'm so glad that Eric Cave brought this point up, because I think it's tremendously important to talk about the awards and recognize who was celebrated and who won it and who won or who got snubbed to the point. So I'm glad this came up. I think we can maybe discuss it for just a minute, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on any of that.
Yeah, so first of all, the way that I actually had structured the show was essentially like this would have been the news regardless of whether it was announced at the Game Awards or not. So that was more like my approach to us putting this together, and because rather than focusing on the Game Awards at all as even a topic, because it is in a way so like more relevant than in like as far as an award show, because again, it doesn't feel like they really care about the awards, even though I personally have a lot of stake in them. So I should say, for full transparency, I haven't been able to talk about this on the show before, but as part of where I work at my workplace, at my day job, I actually got to be part of the voting process for the Game Awards this year. So actually, I had a hand in voting for both the nominees and the winners of this award show. So when
# blame Ryan.
Yeah, of course. So if your favorite game didn't win, of course, it's my fault. But I will say that when I was doing that, I took it very seriously, because it was an honor to be part of that process. And I really enjoyed that. And I felt that when watching the award show, I felt like the opposite was kind of being presented, where it almost felt like the award show itself was not really focusing on the awards. And it was like the fact that they didn't even read the nominees.
That's what I'm saying. Like we're doing that. Like I don't even think we should even complain about it, because we literally just did that.
Right.
We just talked about the announcements and not the awards. So like I don't even know that it's a valid criticism coming from us, because it's like, well, what are we even doing?
Yeah. Exactly. That was what I was trying to allude to and kind of segue to, is that I do think that it's not treated in the same way as something like the DICE Awards or something like that, where I feel like, especially because those are voted by the peers who work at the development studios, I feel like that is an award show that means more to the developers in a lot of ways. So I think that that's an award show that we will definitely be talking about in kind of earnest on this show. But we can definitely talk about like the winners and stuff like that. For example, It Takes Two won Game of the Year. I thought
that's what you voted for, right? You didn't vote for Metroid. You voted for It Takes Two.
I will not say. I will abstain from what I voted for, but It Takes Two, I don't think is definitely a bad choice or anything like that. I actually think that it's a game that I know a lot of people like. I didn't really love the story in that game. Like I thought it was fine. In fact, that's a sentiment that both myself and Matt over on the PlayStation Draft, because we talked about this before over there. We kind of feel the same way about It Takes Two. But I think there was a lot of really innovative gameplay ideas with that game. So I definitely think it was deserving, even though I will kind of agree with Eric's point in that Psychonauts 2 got snubbed in a big way, in the sense that it didn't get any awards.
Nothing.
And it definitely deserves some. In fact, like best art direction, for example, went to Deathloop, and I was like very, very surprised it wasn't Psychonauts.
Yeah.
But I would have thought it would have won for something. But alas, here we are. Even best narrative, even though I think that Guardians of the Galaxy, for example, I think had a great narrative. But I just wish, maybe Psychonauts 2 got some recognition there, but it's just one of those things where it was such a tight year for awards nominations, because again, there wasn't really a clear winner, like, or even like in a lot of categories, even when voting, like a lot of thought went into kind of voting for what was going to win some of these awards, and there wasn't really a clear winner. There was a lot of debate that happened. So I feel like it's in another year, I think Psychonauts 2 either A, would not have been nominated for anything, or B, would have cleaned up.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess that's the swing of it every single year. Yeah. Narrative, I would have loved to see it. I feel like some people didn't even play it to the end. And that's my core argument, sort of like, what is the judgment process on this? Donnie and I talked about this on Sweet Hangs. I'd love to see a little bit more just accountability to the responsibility that you just spoke to. Like it seems kind of flippant. Like, oh, I didn't play some of these games, so I guess I'll pick this one, which I did play. I don't think that should be okay. Like, I don't know.
I can tell you from our perspective, from when we were voting, that was not the case. Like if we didn't feel very comfortable that we played all the games that were being nominated in a specific category, we did not vote on it.
Yeah,
like, that was how we approached it. But obviously I can't speak for other outlets. I don't know exactly how that process would have been narrowed down, but I can tell you from my own personal perspective, that wasn't how it was. Like if I didn't feel like with the RPG category, for example, you can imagine I was very comfortable voting for that award, but something
Tales of Arise, give it to me. Yes.
Well, yeah, of course. But as far as like something like best mobile game as an example, like that's a category I didn't vote on because I didn't play any of those games, right? So that's why like yeah, right. I would love to see more of a transparent process from all of the other voters, not just us as well. But
yeah,
I can tell you for us, like we evaluated in a sound way. But
got it.
There you go. All right. Anyways, let's move on because we got Ubisoft announcements to talk about, Sean. I want to make sure we get to them. So, number one, out of nowhere this morning during the Nintendo Indie Showcase, Ubisoft announced a full remake of the original Splinter Cell. It is in development at Ubisoft Toronto and will use the Snowdrop engine. It will not be an open world game as people kind of, theorized. It will be a linear game just like the original Splinter Cell. Good. No release window has been provided for the remake. We just know it's coming at some point in the future. So soon in air quotations. Sean,
we can shut up now. We can stop we can stop complaining. Everything is fine. They're doing the thing that we asked them to do. They can stop hinting at it, man. And also the point that you just made, it's not an open world game. It's not another Far Cry. It's not another Assassin's Creed. Awesome. The narrative that like every Ubisoft game is the same can maybe get a little quieter at this point. This is all great news. And it's funny because to your point, we don't know when the heck this game is going to come out, but this is an announcement that I think was important for them to make to just kind of like, okay, enough, leave us alone. We're working on it. Like, that's it. But just wait until this narrative turns into, hey, where the heck is Splinter Cell? Like you announced it 3 years ago. We need to be patient, you guys, on this one. I think we can't have it always both ways, up and down. Like we need to be okay with the fact they gave it to us. They were working on it. Now, I think they even posted like jobs for it. I think that was part of it.
That was part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm happy. I'll just be curious to see what the community thinks as the development continues on for the next half decade or so for this one.
Same. I mean, to be fair though, Ubisoft Toronto does have a history of putting games out fairly quickly. Yeah. So especially with that their recent release Far Cry 6, but I mean they've also done lots of stuff in the past, and they tend to get games out quicker than some of the other Ubisoft studios. So I could imagine that this is probably, it just depends on where this is in development, but I would imagine this is probably like 3 years away at the most, but I would imagine we see it sooner.
I have no indication of any of that. I have no idea.
That's true. That's just me hypothesizing, Sean. But
wishful thinking.
It'll come out before Beyond Good and Evil 2 comes out.
Snap. Yeah, you might be right about that. You might probably right.
Or Skull and Bones. I think it'll be out before Skull and Bones.
You're probably right about that too. Yeah.
Yeah. But it will obviously be out after the Prince of Persia remake. But either way, as a Splinter Cell fan, like I think this is the perfect move for this franchise, and it's exactly what it needs. Where they talked about in the article, because there's a full article that we linked in the show notes here, where they kind of talk about the idea of this basically building on where they want to go with the series after this remake. Yeah. So I think this is the remake is a good way of building the foundation, and then from there they can kind of take the character of Sam Fisher and then go wherever they want from there.
Maybe they'll put him in a boat in Greece or something like that. Maybe he'll end up in an Assassin's Creed game crossover game, Ryan.
I mean, he'll have been in almost every franchise at that point, because I mean, you never know. He might maybe X Defiant comes out sometime soon, and it's Sam Fisher.
No.
Yeah, you forgot about that gem, didn't you?
Yeah, everybody did. Yeah.
My God. But either way, I'm really excited for this remake. I love Splinter Cell. I love stealth games, so I can't wait for this one. And then last news story this week before we get to questions, Ubisoft have also announced a free crossover for both Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Assassin's Creed Odyssey that will have Eivor and Cassandra meet for the first time in a video game. There is basically a mission that's added to both of the games, and it's still unclear as to whether or not this is really building towards something besides these singular missions in each of these games. In addition, a new expansion for Assassin's Creed Valhalla was announced called Dawn of Ragnarok, and it will launch on March 10th. This is outside the season pass that they had before. They had already kind of fulfilled the 2 DLC packs in there, but they said it's another 30 to 40 hours of game as an expansion pack that you can buy for March 10th. So
common complaint for Assassin's Creed Valhalla was that it wasn't long enough and it needed more content, Ryan. Definitely
110%.
Definitely a common thing. This was what I was alluding to with Sam Fisher being in an Assassin's Creed game was this crossover. Just anybody else who was like wondering about why that random comment, it was a segue into this one. Cassandra is the best character, one of the best characters in the last 10 years, Ryan. Assassin's Creed Odyssey was my favorite game of the generation. This might actually do it, bring me back into Assassin's Creed, because I really haven't played since last year. I'm quite confused on how to access this mission. I think a lot of people are, but I really do think that this is going to do it. I adore Cassandra, and I think that this is so smart, and I think you're right. I think it does allude to the future of Assassin's Creed, where I think it's going to be, I don't even want to say the multiverse word, but I feel like there's going to be something pretty meta. Oh God, I'm saying all the words. Ryan.
Well, we do know the next Assassin's Creed game is a game as service that will continue to live forever. So I would imagine it will be some kind of crossover of some kind.
Yeah. So anybody who finished Odyssey like kind of has an understanding of the nature of how expansive this can be. And I actually don't know if Valhalla speaks to that at all, aside from this, Ryan. I don't know if you can give me a nod or a no on that, or if Odyssey was like the entirety of that. Oh, there's a timeline here. There's things happening.
There are definitely things that are happening, and it does kind of allude to some things when you finish Valhalla. Right. But again, I'm not going to speak to that as far as spoilers are concerned.
Purposely,
but it definitely kind of teased some things up for.
I think I need to finish this game. I think I have to go back to freaking Eivor.
All 70 hours, Sean. Please be excited.
I'm not even halfway through that game either. Holy cow! I did fire it up, and I was just like, I can't even see, you know how it has like the compass at the top? Like I can't even see like the little notches in it. It's just like dots. It's like things I need to go do or find or see. It's all there. It's a lot, man.
It's a lot. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to pick up this expansion. I kind of, because I want to play these missions over the holidays, and maybe that gets me to maybe try the other DLC packs that came out for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, because I missed those, even though I did finish the campaign. So maybe I'll check those out, and who knows where it goes from there. But
nice.
Either way, more stuff for Assassin's Creed Valhalla in case you needed more content for that game. Anyways, let's some of our friends into the car with us. It's time for the carpool. So folks at home, if you'd like to have your question read on the carpool, there's a number of ways to do that. Number one, you can follow us on Twitter at Yumi Capriz. We put up a question post every single week, so leave your questions there. Or you can leave your comment on YouTube with a question there, just like Eric Cave did earlier, or join the Yumi Capri Discord. It's free to join. Links in the show notes, and you can ask a question this way, just like Court Lalonde at Court Lalonde did on Twitter. And he asked the question, what was your favorite game that you got for Christmas? So, Sean, do you have a game that stands out from Christmas that you received as a present?
Man, I'm so bad at remembering this kind of stuff. I feel like one of my favorite things video game related I got for Christmas was actually the Pokemon Switch Lite that I've got from Sword and Shield. That was very recent. But what about you, man? What was your favorite game you ever got for Christmas?
So oddly enough, a lot of times what would end up happening is either I would get games for my birthday, or
birthday was it for me, big time.
Yeah. Or B, like I would get video games as presents throughout the year, or not really even as presents, but like that's when I would get games, because a lot of times what would happen is on Christmas it would be like toys or clothes or things like that. So I didn't really receive too many games for Christmas, and likewise as I got older, it was just I even just stopped receiving games as gifts, because people just knew that if it was a game I want, I would usually just go get it on my own. So eventually I started getting gift cards and stuff like that. And now we don't really give gifts anymore at this point.
Aww.
So no, it's all good. It's a decision we all kind of came together about, because we were all giving each other gift cards. And we were like, why are we even doing this, right? So
totally.
Yeah. So as far as games, I don't really have a specific game that I got for Christmas. I do remember, however, one Christmas I got my Sega Genesis for Christmas.
Yeah.
That I shared with my brother, because always whenever I got a Christmas present that was large, it was always shared between my brother Kyle and I, essentially, since we were so close in age. And we got the Sega Genesis for Christmas along with Home Alone. I remember playing that game a ton on the Sega Genesis and having a good time with it. It was like a perfect holiday game. So that's going to be my answer. I would say Home Alone on the Genesis, as well as my Sega Genesis is my answer.
Oh, you know what? I'm remembering it would have been like December of 1990. How does this work? 1996. We got NHL as a family. The kids got NHL 97 on the PC for Christmas. And that junk was awesome. That is such a. It took me a moment to remember that one, but yeah, that's a great memory, because we would get it as kids. We would get group gifts. Like, you wouldn't get like an individual game. It was like all of us kind of had to share it. And my sister's like, really? Like, where do I fit in on this? I don't even play these things, but her name was on there too. But shout out to NHL 97 with, I think, John Van Beesbrook from the Florida Panthers.
Oh my gosh.
With the Panther helmet. There was that would have been
the year after the cup run for the Panthers.
What?
That was 96.
Well, that's when they entered the NHL. 96, they were like an expansion. Them and I think San Jose Sharks. And both goalies had like the head, like the head of the shark was the helmet, and the other guy had, John Van Beesbrook had a Panther head.
Yeah. Because I think it was their first year or their second year where they were against Colorado in the finals.
When did they ever? Man, I'm going to fact check this. I feel like they've never made a cup run. What the heck?
You can fact check it all you want, and I'll read Jordan LaRose's question while I give you time to do that.
Fair enough. Okay.
At JLA_15, who asked the question, what's one game that you didn't finish this year that you're going back to completing over the holiday break? And while you fact check me, Sean,
I've also got to check on this too.
Response to this question, Jordan, is, so first of all, I want to finish Mass Effect, as I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
That's definitely one that I want to do over the holidays. And then the other one, when I may be done Mass Effect or maybe in between that, is Shin Megami Tensei 5 on the Switch. I didn't get a chance to finish it because it came out like during the review period for Halo is when I got it. So I barely got time to play it because we were reviewing Halo at the time. So that's one game I do really want to get back to. So over the holidays that's another game that I want to take it like a serious run at finishing. But on Xbox, got to be Mass Effect. But Sean, go ahead. What game are you looking forward to finishing over the holidays? And also, did you fact check me?
I'm doing both things at the same time. I'm doing quite good here. Shout out to Hades. I think I need to go back and finish that game, whatever the heck that's going to end up meaning. Hellblade is not a game that came out this year, but I've got to finish that. And I'm super pumped about that after the Hellblade 2 little sneak peek that we got, that we didn't even talk about that either. Like, dude, that game looked amazing. That game looked so good. Finally, Xbox has a game that looks and plays like that. I recently bought Ace Combat 7 that I think I've started before. I'd like to finish that. Dude, like, my list is ridiculous. Like, we're going to have to do one of these tournament brackets that we've done before. That, like, I need to let the community decide. What am I playing next, man? I've got this.
You did hint at that. You did tell me and Jace to get ready for that.
Get ready.
Also, while you did that, Sean, I fact-checked myself. 1996 Stanley Cup Finals, it was Florida Panthers versus the Colorado Avalanche. The Avalanche won 4-1.
I don't believe it. Oh my gosh, I've never been so wrong in my entire life.
It happened, Sean. It happened.
It's funny because I went to a Florida Panthers game when Chelsea and I got married in Florida, and they were playing the Montreal Canadiens, and so I joined a bunch of Montreal Canadiens fans in Florida, where, like, in their own building. I'm like, what is the legacy of this franchise? Like, who even knows? It's Roberto Luongo, basically, is it? And maybe was he on that team? Was he like a rookie back then? Who knows?
I don't think so. I think that was before the Luongo.
Probably. Yeah, probably. Oh, they had Pavel Bure, the Russian rock. Oh my gosh. Yeah, good team. Okay, you win.
Yeah, my God. Well, anyways, Sean, we got to go. But before we go, Sean, Bugs go.
That is the end. Man, people need to check out the Game of the Year stuff that we're doing. You, me, Capri's. But if you want to follow me on Twitter and on Twitch, shout out to Halo Saturdays. We're doing it again. I said we were done, but my Christmas plans got changed. Saturday, December 18th, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Twitch.tv/Sean Capri. Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. We'll see you there, Ryan Turford.
My God. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford. You can find us on Twitter at YouMeCapri's, on YouTube at youtube.com/YouMeCapri, and on podcast services around the globe. So For Sean Capri, I'm Ryan Turford. This has been episode 220 of the Xbox Drive, and we out. Bye.
So sorry that we didn't talk about any of the things at the Game Awards, and we'll probably never make up for it again. I feel really bad about that, and I probably could have talked about that a little bit more than I did this time, and I'm just rambling now and seeing what I can do to make this go even longer. I still got some air left in my lungs, so I'll say bye! The Xbox Drive is fueled by patrons at patreon.com/YumiCapri. And from the bottom of my heart, I am so grateful to the nearly 70 patrons who support us each and every month. With special thanks to our Capremium producers, Dallas Ford, Lee Navarro, the fearless leader of the Phoenix Overdrive Extra Life team, and Jonathan Brown, the man behind the music on the Xbox Drive and the Nintendo Drive. You can support Jonathan Brown at youtube.com/GamingPurpleMonkey. Our platinum producers, Robbie Bobby Miller and Trucker Sloth, and all of our gold members, Argo, Benji Kong, Brendan Myers, Dallas Robbins, Dano, Emily O'Kelly, Foolish Fuji, Heather Boney, James Johnson, Dr. Doom, Joel Brooks, Jose Jimenez, Mac Time, Marcus O'Neill, Mr. and Mrs. Nasty Boots, RJ Kern, Skinny Matt, and Xavier Reyes. If you'd like to support this show, go to patreon.com/YumiCapri and choose the Patreon tier that works for you.